Hey gang, how's it going? Welcome back to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me today, and thanks for getting creative. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos. And if this is your third, fourth, or fifth time being here, thank you so much for getting creative with me, and welcome back. In today's painting, this is a trio of daisies, and you're gonna get very comfortable with the wet on wet blending method. With this painting and any painting that I teach, feel free to switch out colors. You do not have to use the colors that I use. You can swap out colors and still go through the process. So make this painting your own. And when you kind of get to the point where you're really comfortable with painting, or you're kind of over some of those beginning fears and you want to take your skills to the next level, check out my main website, paintwithlovejoy.com, and check out my featured course, Paint Your Pet. And the course is geared towards beginner painters and first-time painters. And when you paint something that you love, it's a whole new ball game. And people love painting their pets, and you will impress yourself with what you create. So again, find creative outlets on a monthly basis for yourself, because your future self will be so grateful that you implemented this into your life now. So one of the things that you're going to see in the description box below is a link to a supply kit. And in that supply kit is everything that you need to create this particular painting. So click on the link, see what new tools or any colors that you may need to grab what you need, and then pick up the video again. You're also going to see in the description box below is a link to a traceable. And a traceable is a way for you to get your initial image, that initial composition on your canvas. And this is a great tool for my first time painters to take out some of that beginning stress of getting started painting. So again, check out the link for the traceable and check out the video on how to transfer your traceable to your canvas. And then pick up the video and get started painting. All right, so actually enough talking at this point. Let's go ahead and get started painting. All right, guys, so this is going to be a fun painting. And I want you to go ahead and get all your supplies together, turn on your favorite music, and as always, make sure you take your progress photos. Now, once you have your traceable transferred to your canvas, you actually have two options here, and I highly recommend doing option number one because it's good practice. But you're going to use your pointy brush and black paint, and I want you to go over each one of those lines that you transferred to your canvas. And as you do this, I want you to play with the pressure of your brush. Light pressure will make smaller lines, where a little more pressure will make wider lines. These don't have to be perfect, and if you have variation in your lines throughout this, don't stress out because you'll actually repeat this step at the end. If you happen to be short on time, you have option number two, which is using a black Sharpie marker, and again, just going over those lines. Then you'll move into your painting. But again, I do recommend option number one just because it's good practice and getting comfortable with the brush. All right, so after you've transferred and gone over your lines, you do want to pause your video and take a progress photo. And we're going to be moving into painting, and we'll be starting from the left side, working our way over. And we're going to be starting with light blue. So you can see here that I'm actually just taking the blue and the white and just mixing kind of a new pile. You can make your shade of blue any shade that you like. And as you apply your paint, you've got a few brush strokes to try. You can try that wide stroke, the skinny stroke, or making X marks. Totally your call. Whichever brush stroke that you feel a little more comfortable with, stick with that one. And once you've made your color, we're going to be filling in all the space from around the daisies to the edges of the canvas and to the line separating it from the other daisy. If you happen to go over your black lines, no big deal, because like I said, we will be applying those again at the end of the painting process. And here again, I want you to just play with the pressure of your brush. Notice that more pressure will create more expressive brush strokes. And I'm also going to encourage you to apply your paint a little bit thicker. I do notice that my first time painters, you want to be real conservative and not use a whole lot of paint. But if you apply your paint a little bit thicker, it'll make some of the blending that we do in a few minutes a little bit easier for you. So again, apply your paint a little bit thicker, and especially if you're using student grade paint, definitely apply your paint a little thicker. As you're going around small details around each petal, feel free to use your brush in that kind of sideways skinny version, or if you need to, you can move down to your small pointy brush. It's totally okay to adjust to what you need. And if you're one of my first time painters and you're holding your breath right now, laugh at yourself and take a deep breath. You're doing really good. Just the fact that you're painting at home and going through this process, I'm very proud of you. And all right, and here you can see we're going to do a little bit of wet on wet blending. So you can see that I slapped that white right on top of the blue paint. And then you'll notice that I move my brush on top of it and it kind of creates a new lighter blue. This is literally exactly what you did on your plate to mix your color. You're just going to do it on your background instead. Keep in mind that the more you move your brush, the more the two colors blend. Your background is wet and you introduce the new color. So if you get to the point to where you moved your brush quite a bit and you lost that nice bold white that you liked, right here, just reapply more white, but don't move your brush as much. When you're doing this, if you are inclined to finger paint, go right ahead and give that a try. But this is a kind of a blending method that you'll just get more comfortable with the more that you do it. And it's a lot of fun. And now going back to finishing the bottom portion of the background. And if you have to mix your color a second or third or fourth time, don't stress about it getting the exact same shade. Having some variety in your background is to your benefit, and it makes your background a little more intriguing. So here you can actually see that I'm grabbing a bit more of the darker blue, and I'll be actually grabbing just the straight blue in a minute. There we go. And you can notice that I actually painted over the stem, that black line of the stem. If you do that, totally okay. You can just paint on top of acrylic paint after it dries with no issues. And I think when we get to the red side background, you'll notice that I actually paint over all of it. So here doing that same wet on wet blending, slapping the blue on top of this instead of the white. And you'll notice again how it makes that just a little bit darker. And as you move your brush over it, the two blend together. Nice. And again, creating a lighter space up top with a darker space towards the bottom. And we'll kind of recreate that process in each section for our daisies. And again, just grab some more of that blue to go right on top because I moved my brush too much. If you don't want to go a little bit darker, you can add some purple into it, or here I'm going to be adding a touch of black. Be very sparing if you use black, because black's a pretty strong, bold color, and a little bit goes a long way. And you can see here doing the same wet on wet blending, but it's creating kind of that bluish gray, that bluish black, just to create a darker space on the bottom. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo, and you want to clean your brush really good. Then we're going to move into just our direct, our straight red. If you prefer more of a pink, you can mix it with the white. If you prefer a different color, you can do that as well. Any of these sections you can switch out with any color that you like. And again, if you're using student grade paint, you may notice that your paint's a bit on the transparent side. So you've got two options if you're using student grade paint. One, you can paint a little bit thicker and you get a bit more of an opaque coverage. Or you can actually paint a layer, let it dry, and then paint a second layer or a third layer on top of it. And that will increase your opacity and more coverage. So if you do have something underneath the canvas that you need covered, 2 or 3 layers of paint will help cover that. Again, as you're getting in between those petals, use your brush sideways or move down to the pointy brush. And here you can see I went right over the stem and the leaf that we had drawn on there. And you'll notice at a later step in the video, we'll paint our stem and leaf color right on top of our acrylic paint. Right here, doing a little bit of the wet on wet blending with a little bit of black. Again, a little bit of black goes a long way, and you'll actually see where I got it way too dark. So I go back and grab red and paint right on top of it with that red. So it is, the wet on wet blending is a bit of a back and forth method. So feel free to just kind of play with it. And if you get to the point where you have a lot of dark color on your brush, just wipe it off and then go back to your blending. This is actually one of the more fun parts of painting, is the wet on wet blending. If you get your painting super muddled and you just don't even like the color at all, take a paper towel, wipe off the paint from your canvas, and reapply another color or the same color, but less of your shadow. Basically anything with paint, if you don't like it, let it dry and paint right on top of it again. So here I wanted a bit of a highlight above the flower. So I added some of that white, and you can see how that red eats it up very quickly and kind of turns it to the pink. If you do not want pink in your red, you can use yellow to create a lighter space in your red section. All right, pause the video and take a progress photo. We're moving right into, clean your brush, and we're moving right into yellow paint. And if you happen to drop some, just like right there, just take a paper towel, wipe it off, and then reapply new paint on that section. Acrylic paint gives you a lot of wiggle room to work with as a beginner painter, so trust your instincts as you go about the painting process. You are going to learn so much each time you paint. And as you're painting, try not to compare yourself to other people or other paintings that you see. I want you to just do a little bit better each time that you paint and compare yourself to your own progress. Because half of the progress is where you started and where you took it to. And when you compare to other people, you're comparing to them and you're not comparing to where you started and where you've evolved to. So be kind to yourself as you go through the painting process. Like I said earlier, just the fact that you're sitting at home, painting along, going through the process, that makes you successful already in the creative realm. All right, and on this one, we will do some wet on wet blending. And this wet on wet blending is getting you kind of comfortable for when we move into the flower petals, because you'll do the same thing. So just trying to build on your skills. All right, so I grabbed a little bit of orange since I'm using yellow. And again, you'll see how quickly it kind of blends with the yellow underneath and changes the shade. So feel free to go back and forth with all your colors and blend until you kind of like what you're looking at. And again, if you need to throw that yellow back on top of it to adjust the color, give that a try. Doing the same thing with white towards the top. And as you go through any painting process, get in the habit of getting out of your chair every now and then and looking at your painting from a distance of 3 to 10 feet away. And generally, you will like it more from that distance compared to 2 feet in front of your face while you paint it. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. And now we're going to be moving into the petals. So white paint. And what we're going to do is we're moving down to the small pointy brush, but we're taking that white paint and I'm just going to put a base of white paint on each of the petals. Then we'll do a little bit of shading. So super, super exciting painting white paint on a white canvas, but we're putting that base layer in there so we can use a little bit of light gray to create some shading on our white petals. If you are inclined to change the color of your daisy's petals to a different color, to yellow or orange or purple or lavender, whatever you feel like, go right ahead and change the color. All right, again, as you're putting that white paint on there, if you happen to go over those black outlines, that's okay. The black outlines at the end of the painting are completely optional. So now I'm making a light gray. So I pulled some white aside And you want to add a tiny amount of black to it to get to kind of a light gray. And then you can see here where I'm just kind of on the left side of each petal. And feel free to adjust your shade of gray if you need to. There we go. That's a little much. But using that and hitting kind of each petal on their left-hand side to create a hint of a shadow. Then I wiped my brush off and went back and blended with light pressure that light gray into the white. And again, you can kind of see that it just gives a hint of volume, a hint of shading. When you step away from the painting, this little hint of the gray shading will make a big difference. So as you're doing each of these, and we're just basically repeating the process on each flower, get in that habit of looking at your painting from that distance and go, oh, is that gray enough? Do I need to go back and make it darker? Do I need to go back and make it a little bit lighter? But adjust your shading to what you're seeing from that distance when you look at your painting. All right. And then, like I said, you're just basically going to repeat this process on all of your flower petals. So again, putting that base of white and then going through and getting shadows on each of the petals. Then you wipe your brush off and go back and kind of blend that gray into the white. And these do not have to be perfect. It's just giving the hint, the illusion that we have depth on this flat surface, that you have a little bit of roundness and volume on each of the petals. And keep in mind a little bit of a tip. Do remember to clean your brush as you're going from white to another color, just so you're not contaminating your colors. All right, good job. Pause the video, take your progress photo. Now we're going to go to yellow paint, and we're going to do the center of each of those daisies. And basically just kind of, again, applying it really kind of thick on there. It's just like we applied the white to each of the petals. And then we'll come in with a few little dots of orange to create a shadow. All right, still using that small pointy brush. I'm going to grab a little bit of the orange and just place a few dots on top of the wet yellow paint. And then we'll go back and just kind of one quick little brush stroke, blend it in, smooth it into the yellow. Again, very similar to what you were doing with the petals. We're just doing it on a smaller scale for the inside of the flowers. You're doing a great job. If you find that you're holding your breath, make sure you take a deep breath. All right, so now we're going to be going to yellow and green, and it can kind of basically be an equal mixture, or if you want it a little lighter, you can add more yellow to yours, but you can make your shade whatever you like. And we're going to be filling in the leaves and the stems on each of our daisies. And by now, your background should be fully dry, and you're just going to paint right on top of it for the stems and maybe the place if you overlapped and lost one of your leaves like I did on the red. Again, if you're using student grade paint, I do want you to apply your paint a little bit thicker so that way you have nice flow and better coverage. If you need to, you can always do a second coat of paint to increase your opacity. All right, and as you do the stem, still using that small pointy brush, kind of keep a medium pressure so you have a nice size width stem on there. If you happen to push a little harder than you wanted to and you make a really wide stem, just consider that you have a very healthy flower with a strong support structure for the stem. And here, taking a little bit of just that straight green and putting it on the bottom of the leaves, creating a slight shadow, just like the background, having the darker color towards the bottom to help create that volume and that depth. We will put a little bit of yellow on the opposite side of the leaf to indicate the highlight area. And again, you do want your leaf kind of overlapping your background a little bit. And at this point, you can see that I've actually gotten rid of just about all those black lines. And we will reapply that black outline in the next section. Here, because I had a lighter blue or a darker blue background, I actually made a lighter green, so that way it would stand out a little bit more. Same on the red background. So feel free to adjust your shade of green based on the color that it's next to. And yep, here we go, applying it a little bit thicker paint on there, especially on that darker background. Nice, this is coming along really well. You guys are doing a great job. So again, taking that green, just kind of applying it to the bottom of the leaf. Now taking that yellow and applying it to the opposite side, the top portion of the leaf. Again, just creating that volume. We're looking for a light space, your medium main color, and then the darker shadow value. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. And now we're going to move this small pointy brush and black paint. And here's where we're going to be going over all those outlines a second time. In this one, you do want to mind the pressure of your brush. And by using a light pressure, you can create a smaller line. And if you kind of treat your brush like a pencil and use just the tip and then grab more paint as needed, it helps create some of those skinnier lines, but also takes a little bit of the pressure off of thinking about it as a brush. So again, the more that you do this, the better you will get and the more comfortable you'll get with your tools, with mixing the paint, with the pressure of your brush. So again, be proud of yourself for being courageous enough to paint at home and follow along. This gets so much easier the more that you paint. And hopefully during this time frame that you've been painting, you've been so focused on your painting that you forgot about the outside world, that you've kind of zoned out and just focused on the painting. That is one of the most beautiful aspects of painting. So I encourage you to find more creative outlets for yourself as often as possible. All right, so here you can see I put a little bit of a line, almost as if it was a fold on the petal. In the middle of the petals. You can just do your best to look at what you see on the screen and just kind of mimic that on your painting. And again, this step is completely optional. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. If you want to outline your flowers in a different color like red or teal or purple, go right ahead and switch up your color. All right, you're doing a great job. Make sure you're breathing while you're working on these lines. And if you need to turn your canvas upside down, sideways, go right ahead. You don't have to keep your canvas in the same orientation. I'm doing that just because I'm filming the video, but likely I would have turned it upside down to get to some of those top petals. If you're painting on a table or on an easel and you prefer it flat, or maybe you prefer it angled up, feel free to adjust your canvas to what you need. If you don't have an easel, you can prop it up on a box or on something that's sturdy enough that your easel's not going to fall. But again, feel free to adjust what you need to for your process, because this is your time to paint, and just the fact that you're going through the steps makes this very worthwhile. You're doing a great job. All right, same thing as you move into the stems and the leaves. Oh, I forgot those little wrinkle marks inside each of the petals, so go back and do those. And as you get into the stems and the leaves, if you feel like you need to steady your hand, you can kind of put your pinky out, steady your pinky on your canvas and use that as your pivot point, or feel free to rest your forearm against the table. Again, just kind of keep adjusting and find what works for you. As you get into making the lines If you need to, you've got a ruler. Feel free to utilize a ruler or the edge of a piece of paper, or just kind of eyeball it. And this one I'm actually making a little bit thicker, a wider of a line. So I'm making sure that this black line overlaps each background for each of the daisies. And if you need to turn your canvas sideways as you do this portion to make it a little bit easier to do a horizontal line compared to vertical, again, adjust to what you need for your painting process. All right, now you can grab a little bit of white and just put a few little highlights on top of the centers of the petals, and even putting a few highlights, just a line, a quick hint of a highlight on those leaves and even the stems. Again, just do your best. You can kind of look and see the general placement that I put them, and then mimic that on your canvas. You've done a great job. I am super, super proud of you for painting at home. Again, please, please try to find creative outlets as often as possible. I tell all my students the world's not getting any less stressful, so it is up to you to find your outlets. Thanks so much for taking time to paint with me. I look forward to painting with you again in the future. Cheers. Hey guys, I hope your painting turned out really nice and that you feel a little bit more comfortable with the process of painting. Do try to find a creative outlet for yourself on a monthly basis. As you're uploading your pictures to social media, please tag me, Paint with Lovejoy, or email them to me, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. It is entirely through your emails, your feedback, your comments, your pictures that has kept this channel going and is continuing to keep it going. So please let me know how you're doing at home so we can keep this going together. Like I said in the intro, when you're ready to take your painting skills to your next level, check out my Paint Your Pet course at paintwithlovejoy.com. So thanks so much for taking time out of your day to paint with me. I'm honored, and I'm really glad that you're painting, so keep it up. Until next time, have a great day. Cheers. Kind to yourself as we wait for the plane again.